Hey guys, it's Luke bringing you a preview for UFC 265 this weekend for Draftkings MMA and GPP contests. In this video, we're going to be covering my top 6 fighters to target for those Draftkings contests with the highest potential to help you take down first place. Last week's card was a little bit of a disappointment to say the least. We had plenty of fights that ended up being canceled due to COVID. Plenty of our picks and those fights ended up getting canceled. So we're looking to rebound this week and to have a little bit more of an exciting card. Luckily, UFC 265 has a lot of banger fights, a lot of fights with some high profile fighters as well. So it's definitely going to be a little bit of a treat this weekend. These are going to be the top 6 picks for Draftkings MMA contests. These are going to be the highest potential scores on the slate. When we're looking at GPP formats and GPP picks, you're looking for the players with the highest potential scores, not necessarily the highest projected scores. A lot of that has to do with looking for finishes, trying to get some of those bonuses in terms of a first round finish, all that kind of stuff. And you're looking to really take down first place in a GPP format. You know, just winning your money back, finishing in that top 20% really isn't going to get it done from a profit loss perspective. You're looking for those top 1%, top 5% performances. And that's exactly the kind of fighters that I'm going to be identifying in this video. We're going to be using my data-based approach as always. I try to look at the statistics. I try to take a look at some of the advanced metrics to try to identify fighters rather than doing it based on narrative and bias. You're going to have a lot more success when you look at the facts rather than some of those opinions, and that's exactly what you're going to get from here right on this channel. If you guys enjoy database content like that, make sure to check out my channel for even more. I don't just cover the UFC. I also cover the PGA Tour, NFL, NBA, and even more sports. So make sure to check it out and subscribe. Without further ado though, guys, let's hop into those top 6 picks for UFC 265. At number 6 for our fighters to target this week, we have Jose Aldo fighting against Pedro Munoz this weekend. And Aldo is a minus 120 favorite over Munoz at just an $8,600 price tag for DraftKings. So Aldo has been somebody who we've essentially had in the UFC for forever now. He's had wars against some of the very best in the division. I mean, Conor McGregor, Peter Yan. You can just keep naming some of the legends from that division, that lightweight division. He's fought essentially everyone. He's somebody who has a very high knockout rate as well. Obviously, he's had some of the spinning back fist knockouts, some of the spinning kick knockouts that we've seen on highlight reels for years and years and years in the UFC. And this co-main event is going to be an absolutely firework fest. Munoz is a very high output striker, somebody that averages over 5 significant strikes landed per minute. He's essentially trying to take your head off all 15 minutes of the fight. Aldo, on the other hand, is a little bit more calculated. Obviously, he's a very good kickboxer. He has very good kicks at range. And obviously, he's very deadly on the feet as well, with over a 68% knockout rate. So I think it's a very good matchup, especially stylistically. I think it's going to look a lot like the Peter Yan fight, where Yan was really pushing the pressure. He was just landing strikes at will on Aldo, kind of forcing Aldo into that high output affair as well. Munoz is a very similar fighter. You know, he fights with that volume. Obviously, he's not as calculated, he's not as powerful, not as scary on the ground as somebody like Peter Yan, but he's definitely going to try to push the pace just like somebody like that. Aldo showed the ability to raise his pace to match Peter Yan's pace in that fight. He actually won a few rounds on the scorecards from a few of those judges, so I think that's very impressive. Again, I think Munoz is a lot less of a threat than somebody like Peter Yan, and the fact that Aldo's getting respect from the odds makers, the fact that we saw him do well in that high volume affair, I really think he's a great cash play this week. I think he's got a really good chance to win by decision this weekend, but obviously he's somebody with a ton of knockout upside as well. He's finished 68% of his fights by knockout. In a GPP format, is going to be very valuable as well. At number 5 this week, we have Angela Hill fighting against Tecia Torres, where she is a plus 115 underdog priced at just $7,500. So the fact that she's priced at just $7,500 and is only a plus 115 underdog, that is great inherent value right there alone. So before you even hop into the pick, you already know you're getting a little bit of value from the DraftKings side. But the last time we saw Angela Hill, she absolutely killed it. Went out, got a first round knockout. Obviously is getting a huge step up in competition against Tecia Torres, but I think it's going to be a tougher test. I think it's actually a much better matchup for Angela Hill. I mean, Angela Hill is somebody who wants to bang on the feet. She wants to go out, have a slugfest, make it a really dirty fight. She averages 5.66 significant strikes landed per minute on the feet with 50% accuracy. Both those are elite numbers for any women's division, let alone this division. And she seemingly also has the strength advantage as well. She boasts a crazy, this is one of the best in the entire roster, 78% takedown defense. So I expect her to keep the fight standing. I expect her to land at volume on the feet. And against somebody like Tecia Torres, who has a lot of experience, but with experience comes a lot of scar damage. It also comes with a lack of innocence. You start to understand that the fighting game can be a little bit brutal. You can lose or win pretty much any fight. And I think Angela Hills just has a little bit of a better mindset, a little bit of a better cardio base, and obviously the strength advantage as well. At number 4, we have Vincente Luque fighting against Michael Chiesa this weekend. And Luque is a minus 120 favorite at $8,500 on Draftkings. So I honestly don't understand why the line is even as close as it is for this fight. I think that Vincente has the kryptonite of a skill set to go against somebody like Chiesa. Chiesa obviously relies on his wrestling. He lands plenty of takedowns across his fights. He typically does it with control time, has a little bit of a submission threat as well. But on the feet, he has a lot to be desired. In terms of Luque's skill set, he's extremely diverse. He's very good on the feet, has power on his feet as well with his kicks. He also has some of the nastiest submissions on the entire roster. He averages more than 3 times more strikes than Chiesa on the feet, with 5.74 strikes landed per minute. And even though Chiesa, like I said, is a wrestling specialist, somebody that is going to score a lot of takedowns, is definitely going to have his fair share of control time. You have to be careful about that with Luque. Luque has some of those nasty submissions that I was talking about. He can put you in arm bars. He can just pull a rear naked choke out of nowhere. And as a result, I expect to finish on the feet for Luque. I expect Chiesa to be a little bit hesitant to go shoot for those takedowns. And Luque has enough power to put Chiesa out in the first round. So that's why he comes in at number 4. I think he has a lot of knockout potential. And if it goes to a decision, I think he can pull it out as well. For my number 3 fighter to target, we have Ciryl Gane fighting against Derek Lewis in the main event of the night. Gane is one of the biggest favorites on the entire slate at minus 350. Also the most expensive fighter on the slate at $9,400. But both of those price tags are well warranted in my opinion. Obviously the odds makers love him. I do as well. He's one of the highest output fighters we've ever seen in the heavyweight division. He averages a whopping 5.13 significant strikes landed per minute, which for the heavyweight division is like landing 10 strikes per minute in the bantamweight division. That is absolutely ridiculous. And he just absorbs a little bit over 2 strikes per minute himself. He's also shown a real threat with his wrestling. He has plenty of submissions on his record, especially in the regional scene before getting to the UFC. He actually said after one of his fights where he finished somebody with a submission in the UFC that he went out and just wanted to show that he could do so. Obviously he's a kickboxer, somebody who pieces people up on his feet. He has great kicks as well, but he obviously has a well-rounded game and wanted to prove that. So Derek Lewis is a threat in any fight that he's in. Obviously, he's a KO threat just waiting to happen. But Ciryl Gane's been around for a very long time. He has a very long kickboxing career as well, a tested chin. He's gone clipped a few times in the UFC as well, especially against Alexander Volkov, and he really didn't flinch at all. He was able to stand through them. The chin held up. And if it does so against Derek Lewis, it's going to be a very convincing win. It's a 5-round affair. He's going to land upwards of 150, 175 strikes. Is likely to land a few takedowns as well. And it doesn't even matter the price tag at that point. He's going to be an optimal play. You're looking at like 110, 120 fantasy points. And I will definitely be having him in a majority of my fantasy lineups. And for my number 2 target this week, we have Kenney, who is a minus 115 favorite over Song Yadong, priced at $8,200 for DraftKings contest. The odds makers really put together a good collection of matchups for this weekend. This matchup between Casey and Yadong is another matchup where stylistically very interesting. They are essentially carbon copies of each other. Both fighters are high output strikers. They both have great cardio, and they can both mix in takedowns when they need to steal around. They're, again, essentially carbon copies, like I said before. But the reason why I'm taking the Kenney side of this fight is that he boasts a slight, and I mean slight, volume advantage on the feet and with his wrestling. He averages an extra half punch per round in terms of his striking, and he also averages an extra half takedown per fight. So both of those are very tight margins. They're essentially negligible at this point. But obviously the Vegas odds makers have a lot of faith in Kenney. I do as well. He's coming off of a very close loss in his last time out. Song Yadong got his ass handed to him. So in terms of momentum, Casey obviously has a little bit less negative momentum than Song Yadong. He has a slight advantage in terms of his volume. So even though it's going to be an extremely close fight, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm definitely taking the Kenney side of this high volume affair. And finally, for my last fighter to target, we have Rafael Fiziev, He's fighting against Bobby Green and is a minus 330 favorite on DraftKings. He's priced at $9,300, so you're not getting a value in terms of the price tag here. But he's somebody who's by far the most likely to get a first-round knockout on this card. He's coming out a massive favorite. He showed exactly why he was such a big prospect coming into the UFC. Last time out, got a huge first-round KO against Moicano. He was able to just sit him down in a few shots, really just calculated, put a lot into those shots, and put him away early. I think he got a little bit frustrated with his first few UFC performances. He had a few really nice decision wins against some of the best competition in that division. But he really wanted to make a statement with that knockout against Moicano. This time out, I expect a very similar type of strategy. Fiziev knows that if he wants to become a superstar in this sport, he's going to have to go out and make some really crazy knockouts. He's going to have to show that power that gave him all that potential coming into the UFC. And with a 67% finish rate, again, we really haven't seen that in the UFC aside from his last time out. I expected him to go out and add to that number. At $9,300, like I said before, you're not getting salary relief by any means, but you're getting somebody with really high potential, somebody with a lot of power in his hands, and that's exactly what I'm looking to target in GPP contests. That's all I've got for this week's UFC preview. Let me know in the comments who your favorite fighter to target is for DraftKings this weekend for GPP contests. As always, make sure to like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed the content. It really helps me out with growing the channel, and it also makes sure that you guys can catch my content as soon as I post it. Like I mentioned before, I don't just cover the UFC though, guys. I also cover the PGA Tour extensively, 4 to 5 videos a week. I'm going to have plenty of NFL content coming out as well. And when the NBA season comes around, I'll be covering that in full as I do always. So good luck with your DFS contest. Let's win some cash this weekend, and I'll see you guys for next week's UFC preview.